I'm Dan.
I'm Delilah.
Zach.
Christine.
Darren.
What if I told you all that your homes were going to be destroyed? And not just your homes, but the homes of your family and your friends. Um, all of us have heard of global warming, but not everyone understands the actual effects of what takes place in your day-to-day lives concerning global warming. Um, Today I would like to talk to you about, one, the effects of global warming, and two, one thing that you can do to help curb the onset of global warming in our society. According to the New York Times, an increased body of science points to rising dangers of the ongoing buildup of human-related greenhouses produced mainly by burning of fossil fuels and forests. These rising dangers include rising of sea levels, unpredictable weather, war due to unstable resources. These just name a few examples: droughts, extinction of certain animals. We've already seen many of these things that I've stated, mainly the rising in sea levels. According to Earth Science 12th edition, research indicates the sea levels have already risen 10 to 24 centimeters over the past century, and that trend will continue to rise. The same resource goes on to say, the science has changed, that since this has changed, the gradual damage caused is often misplaced by storms. What does this mean in day-to-day lives? Imagine a world where you come out and there are constant hurricanes, and not just the hurricanes that we've seen in the past, but giant, insane hurricanes, built stronger maybe than Katrina, that kind of average, because the sea levels have risen and the water's gotten so warm that the condensation has built these monsters, and they're unpredictable. So you have no idea when they're coming or how long they'll last and what kind of terror they'll consume. What does all this have to do with us now? Well, global warming just, it affects everything, all of us. Imagine now as well that not only are there is there an unfounded amount of water, but it's undrinkable because it's contaminated or mainly salt water, and there's worldwide famine due to shrinkage and crops and an extinction of animals. You won't have to imagine this for too much longer because that's the way our paths are going. There's obvious evidence that global warming is taking place, whether or not you believe it's global warming or anything else. The Earth is getting warmer. This leads me to my next point. Recycling can curb the global warming events. According to the UCS USA, the aggressive emissions reductions, as well as flexibility in adapting to those changes, we cannot avoid. We may have a small window in which to avoid truly dangerous warming, providing future generations with a sustainable world. We can obviously change some of these events taking place. Most people view changing the effects of global warming as time-consuming and fairly expensive. You think you have to buy a green car or put solar plates on your roof or build buildings that are just completely green powered, but that's not necessarily true. According to the EPA, since the Industrial Revolution in the 1700s, human activities such as burning of oil, coal, and gas, and deforestation have increased CO2 concentrations in the atmosphere. In 2005, global atmospheric concentrations of CO2 were 35% higher than they were before the Industrial Revolution. The same source goes on to say that the extraction, creation, and ultimate disposal of materials create the gases that cause global warming. With something as simple as recycling, you can completely curb that from happening. There won't be any more extraction and there won't be any disposal. So that significantly cuts down the amount of CO2s that you are personally producing in the atmosphere. Imagine if everyone you know recycled, or even half the people you knew recycled. That's a really strong amount of CO2s no longer in the atmosphere. And that's with no one owning, or no one necessarily that you know owning a green car or with solar panels on their roofs. When you recycle, you conserve energy and reduce the gases and pollutants. It's as easy as putting your trash in a different trash can. It's quick and simple. Recycling is the easiest and most cost-effective thing you can do to prevent this global catastrophe. I lived in a town, Dillard, Georgia. It's a tiny little town up in northern Georgia. It was basically me and two 2 other people in the entire place. They didn't have a citywide garbage system. You had to take your garbage someplace. They had a recycling center. If you look it up, in almost any city, there's someplace you can take your trash, if not someplace you can hire to pick it up. A lot of cities mandate recycling, so the city will pay for you to recycle. You just have to put it out by the road, and they sort it and take it away. I know I personally have been recycling for years, and I pay a company to sort it for me. So I just put it in my bin, put it out by the road, and it's that simple. $7 every 2 months is definitely worth the amount of CO2 that's being removed for that purpose. If you try to find a recycling center, you're going to find one. Finally, the arguments related to global warming are the idea of there isn't global warming and a miscommunication. According to the National Climate Data Center, since our entire climate system is fundamentally driven by energy from the sun, it stands to reason that the sun's energy output were to change, and so would the climate. This is true. The sun's energy is what provides us with provides us with all of our heat in terms of the greenhouse effect. So, with this being true, it doesn't have as much evidence to support the idea of global warming as global warming does. There are a lot of reasons that our solar system our climate could be increasing in temperature, but it doesn't have as much fire or information behind it as the idea of global warming. The same article goes on to say that solar output does indeed vary, but that it's as much known about this event as there is as much proof to show that these are the reasons why our temperature is rising. And there are also positive side effects to global warming that should be mentioned. According to the Earth Science 12th edition, coming with the increased temperature that brings crop damage, caused the decrease in damage to others. So, in that note, there are certain plants are going to become extinct, but there are others that will thrive, as well as less mortality rates due to cold. But this is matched, unfortunately, by the amount of higher increase of death due to the heat wave and heat-related stress. So there will be there are going to be a lot less mortality rates for people who will die in, say, freezing events, because there won't be any more freezing, but there are going to be a lot of increase in death rates as well due to heat. People also tend to confuse the greenhouse effect with global warming, and this is obviously wrong. Global warming is, in effect, an increase in carbon dioxide and methane, which is bad, and it's human caused primarily. There are greenhouse gases in the atmosphere that cause small effects of global warming, but it's our increased amount that is the problem. The greenhouse effect is a naturally occurring way the atmosphere gets and stays warm. If there wasn't the greenhouse effect, no one would be able to survive here, and there wouldn't be plants. There wouldn't be any warmth. It would be freezing. So the idea is that when you confuse these two things, you think that if you thought the global warming was the greenhouse effect, then your mindset would be it's a naturally occurring thing. If the Earth is going to burn out, it's going to happen anyway, and there's nothing we can do about it. But obviously, global warming is a man-made thing primarily, and we can do something to offset that. Conclusion, I would like you to join myself and others in recycling to offset just a small amount of the CO2 emissions in the air. There are many things that you can do to aid the reduction in CO2 emissions. This is just a small and easy step. It's not like you have to go out and buy a car. You just have to put your trash in a different kind of reciprocal. It's quick and it's easy. Please visit tampagov.net for more information about recycling and other things that you can do to help in your area, and any information that you want to grasp from this. Global warming is something that we all have to deal with, and that we are all to blame for. You drive a car, you're pumping out more CO2 emissions than a fossil fuel car. You're pumping out CO2 emissions every day if you use heat or air conditioning, or even aerosol cans and hairspray. Like you're aiding in this happening. I hope that you all have a great evening and continue to educate yourselves on recycling and put an end to this problem.